We are not doctors. This podcast is not medical advice. These are the personal experiences of the host and guests. Your experiences may differ. The host and guests of this podcast will be discussing difficult topics that include death, dying, trauma, and emotional distress. It is intended for mature audiences.
The Martial Heart Podcast.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 2 of the Martial Heart Podcast. You may notice some changes, made some changes to the recording, some microphone levels, and software issues. And hopefully it's a little easier to hear and understand. The first episodes, you had to really crank them up to be able to hear everything. So we're trying to get rid of that. So it should be better now. And if not, let me know, and I will crank things up a little bit more. I'm afraid of cranking them up too much, getting some distortion or whatever into the microphone. But I think we're okay. I did some testing, uploaded some tests. You might see them on the platforms for part of the day today. I've already deleted them out of the program, but I guess it takes a while for things to catch up out there on the interwebs. And also I have some planes flying over, so if you hear those, I apologize. But what can you do? I live not too far from an airport and an Air National Guard regiment. So we get airplanes and helicopters pretty much all the time flying over, which is kind of cool if you're into that sort of thing. Not so cool if you're trying to record stuff, but that's all right. So episode 2, and I wanted to do an after the heart attack episode to kind of record my thoughts and feelings about how do you feel after you've had a heart attack. And the bottom line on that is, you feel like shit. Yeah, that's pretty much the only way to put it. And it's going to vary from person to person and depend on the severity of your incident. We still don't really understand the severity of my heart attacks, plural, how much damage was done and how much effort it's going to take to recover from that and rehabilitate. But like I said yesterday, every once in a while you're going to catch me taking a deep breath because I get short of breath. And I guess that's one of the effects of it for now. But immediately after the heart attack, I guess before the procedure, before the angioplasty and before the stents, I had this kind of a heavy pressure in my chest. It wasn't a pain, like a stabbing pain or anything like that. It was just a pressure and weakness. And of course, I had the fluctuating heart rate and blood pressure that would make me feel faint and get dizzy, and they wouldn't let me get out of bed. So yeah, that was fun. I got to use the urinal thing in a hospital bed. That's not embarrassing at all. So fun. Anyhow, after the procedure, though, and this is where it gets interesting because they do the angioplasty, they put in the stents, the blood flow to your heart is improved, or in my case, they said it was restored. So you expect to feel a lot better and everything should be fine, but it's not. I was incredibly tired all the time. And if you had like the original COVID strain like I did, my wife and I both came down with it on Christmas Day in 2020, but you were just exhausted all the time. You had no energy. That's kind of how I felt after the procedure, after the operation. So I would be awake for an hour or two. I could converse, everything was fine. And then, boom, I'm asleep. And I would sleep for an hour or two. And it was kind of a 50-50 deal. I would stay awake for an hour, and then I would be asleep for an hour. 2 hours here, 2 hours there. Over the course of the next couple of days, that changed a little. But I was released from the hospital on Wednesday afternoon, and still into Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of the following week. I mean, I would get up, I'd go downstairs, feed the dogs, let the dogs out, maybe have something to eat for breakfast, and then that was it. I was back in bed. I would head back upstairs and go back to sleep for a while, sometimes for 2 hours. And that's kind of how things went for the next few days. I was asleep for a lot of it. And everyone said that was normal, that you're just recovering, and resting is really the most important thing that you can do. And it's really the only thing you can do. So that's what I did. And even 2 weeks on, I guess 2 weeks and a day from the actual heart attack, I still have very little energy. I can get up. I'm doing things around the house, nothing physically demanding, but, doing the dishes, straightening things up, moving from room to room, actually showering and getting dressed, letting the dogs out, things like that. But after 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours maybe of being up and moving around, it's time to go lay down again. And now I'm at the point where I may not go to sleep, but I definitely have to sit down and rest, or lay down and rest, and maybe just watch a movie on TV or something. So that's kind of where we are now. And it's getting frustrating for me because I'm a very active person, even just my normal day at work. I walk, a few miles a day at work. I always get my steps in. Sometimes that's up and down stairs or up and down ladders. Walking around some really large facilities throughout the day. There's a lot of physical activity and carrying things, moving things around. And then at home, I do the same things. And I like working out. I like to exercise. And so I consider myself, for my age, a very active person. And it's very frustrating to have zero energy, where you're like, I really need to take the trash bags out, and it's a struggle. I mean, you can do it, you can lift it, you have the muscle strength to do it. But after you do this little thing of carrying the trash bags outside, you're done. You're like, oh, it's time for me to sit down and, watch TV for a while, because I've expended all of the energy I had saved up to this point. So that is what has been very difficult to adjust to. And they say that'll get better. I'm just trusting that they're right about those things. There is supposed to be cardiac rehab that will help strengthen your heart, get your strength back, and get yourself back on track. We have no idea how far that will go, whether I'll be able to be as active as I always was, but that's the goal. That's the hope. But for now, a lot of it is a mystery. And you're supposed to just accept that. And you kind of have to. It's not easy. It hasn't been easy for me. I'm not the kind of person who likes to just sit around. I'm actually kind of fidgety, and I have to get up and do things. I like to, tinker, I guess you would call it, but I'm always doing something, and I have to stay occupied. And so if you're like me, that aftermath of the heart attack, where everyone's telling you, no, you can't do that, or no, you shouldn't do that, or no, you need to rest, go back to bed. Why are you up? What do you think you're doing? That's hard to deal with. So it will take you, well, I don't even know if I'm adjusted to it at this point, but I can accept it at this point, that there's just certain things I'm not going to do right now. I experiment and I try something here and there, and I see how much it drains me to do it. Nothing major. I'm not, hitting the gym or going for a jog or anything like that, but just normal things around the house, and trying to test myself and see how much is this going to just sap my energy. And it's kind of shocking. really. Hey, I'm going to sweep the floor. And, you spend 10 minutes sweeping the floor. And when you're done, I'm going to go take a nap. So, something that you would do every day and not even think about because it takes 5 or 10 minutes and it's nothing. It doesn't really take any energy, but all of a sudden you're in a position where I just swept the floor and now I need a nap. So that's the difference. That's how I personally have felt after the heart attack and after the procedure. And like I said, I have to go see the cardiologist still. I have to do the cardiac rehab still. So we're assuming that all of these things are going to improve. But you get left with a lot of questions, and you have to consult with your doctor and your cardiologist because no one tells you, how long is it going to take for me to recover from this? How long am I going to be off work? And that's a frustrating thing. I mean, you just had a heart attack, so now you've had this major health scare, and you're going to have these major health bills from the hospital, and now you can't work. So it's a very kind of scary thing to be going through because you're being told, yeah, no, you can't go back to work. Yeah, well, you don't pay my bills. So you have to think about those things. And luckily, I have a very understanding employer. I've been there for, here in just a few months, it'll be 20 years for my day job. And of course, they said, take whatever time you need. We just don't want you dying on the job. I'm just kidding. They didn't say that. But yeah, they were very understanding. And so I know that I'm not in jeopardy of losing my job or anything because I had this incident. But still, for pretty much everybody, that's a thing that you're going to have to deal with because you're like, I should be better. You want to be better immediately. And that's just not how it works. And so everybody's going to be different. It might take 5-6 weeks before you are even able to go back to work. It might be 7, 8, or 10 weeks before you're able to physically do the things that you normally would do at work. And that's going to, vary from job to job. If you sit in a cubicle typing things all day, it might only be 5 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks before you can go and do those things. But if you have a physical job, if you're a laborer, if you're in the trades, something like that, it's going to be a while before you're going to have the energy to go back to that level of activity. And it's something that we're all going to have to learn to accept during our recovery. And it's hard. It's not easy. So that is what it's like in the few days after having a heart attack and the procedure, the frustrations and the anxieties of just not knowing. And it can keep you awake at night. So worrying about these things. And of course, everyone around you is going to tell you not to worry. Everything's going to be fine. But if you're a human being, you don't just accept that and go, oh, fine, everything's cool. Not a problem. You're going to worry about it anyway. You're going to have those anxieties. There's nothing you can do about it except accepting them and knowing that you're going to feel weird and you're going to have all these anxieties. You're going to have these stresses and you have to manage them because guess what? The thing that I'm told constantly every day is you just had a heart attack. Stop it. You need to chill out, relax. Give yourself time to recover. You just had a heart attack. You didn't just have the flu. You didn't just break your arm. You didn't just sprain your ankle. You had a heart attack. And it's going to take you a while to recover. So accepting that is something we all have to learn and something we'll all do. But with that, I'm going to hit the outro music and we'll plan on doing another episode. I don't know if I'll do another episode today or not, but I have a lot to say. I don't know if I'll be doing one every day. Once a week, I think, is what I put on the description, but it's going to be more than that, obviously. So have a great day, and I will see you next time.